What's up everyone, it is Brad here, and welcome to another episode of Mini Build... No, wrong show, oh my god. What's up you guys, it is Brad here, and today, welcome to another episode of Ask Brick. This is Ask Brick episode number 85 here on my channel and across all my social media platforms where you guys ask me LEGO related questions in the comments, through my stories, direct message, literally anywhere you want, and I will answer them up here on video. We've got lots of really great questions today, including some tips and tricks for starting a YouTube channel, some hidden insight about some crazy times I've had while working at the LEGO store, and a little tutorial on why BrickSet is one of the best apps that you can use for LEGO. All that and more in this week's episode. Alright, so the very first question today is from Mystic on TikTok. He says, Ask Brick, what is the weirdest or funniest encounter you ever had while working at the LEGO store? So honestly, the very first thought that pops into my mind is definitely the time I had to be involved in like a sting operation to try and take down a thief at the LEGO store. I talked about this in an Ask Brick video in the past, so I'm gonna roll that clip now. But yes, unfortunately it did happen and people did try and steal stuff. It happened a few times. I don't really remember many times. One story in particular did stand out though. And that was actually when we had a man who came into the mall. He was in my store. He was doing some shopping. I got a call. I answered it. I'm like, hello. And they're like, this is the mall security. You have a man in your store right now. We are watching him from the cameras and from our surveillance team outside. He's dressed like this. You see him. Do not look at him. And I was like, okay. And they were like, he is stealing. He's stolen from a few other stores and he's going to steal from yours. Let him steal. Do not talk to him. Do not approach him. Do not try and get him to not steal. We want him to steal because we want to catch him and we want to book him. And that was one time that really stood out to me because I had to be like, okay, yes, understood. And then I had to tell the rest of my store employees, do not talk to him. Do not look at him. Just let him steal. He stole some architecture sets. They busted him as soon as he left the store. It wasn't anything crazy exciting, but you know, it did happen. He did steal and it made for a pretty cool story. You know, I was like, I felt undercover. I was like, yes, security. Yes, I'm on it. No, definitely not looking at the subject. And then it was like, as soon as he left out, I'm like, take him down. But it was good. That was a fun time. Definitely when that happened at the LEGO store. But for the most part, like, we didn't really notice a ton of stealing, you know, to be totally honest with you, but I'm sure it did happen. So that still obviously remains one of my top memories at the LEGO store, one of the most memorable experiences. Other, you know, weird or funny encounters that I've had while working, like I remember one in particular, a little kid once took a minifigure, like he built a minifigure from the minifigure factory, and he just took it with him when he left, and like, I didn't see the issue with it. If I would have saw the kid, I wouldn't even have told him to put it down. Like his mom realized he had stolen the minifigure and brought him back in and made him like walk to the front and give the minifigure back to the employee for stealing the minifigure. I was standing right next to my manager when he took it, and my first instinct was to be like, oh my god, don't worry about it, keep the minifigure. But apparently that's not a teachable parenting moment. I don't know, I'm not a parent. I would have just said keep the minifigure. As a parent, I probably wouldn't have loved if my kid stole it, but I don't think I would have marched them back in and made them return it. And as the employee, I would have just said keep the minifigure. I don't want it now that your hands have been touching it. But my manager was like, thank you for returning it. Now we don't steal. And I was like, oh my god, why are we trying to guilt this 3-year-old? But I guess, again, I'm not a parent, so I guess that's maybe the way to do it. Other encounters while working, well, this is always a funny one. We always had one. I'm not going to give too many identifying features of this customer away just because I don't want to out them if they are watching this video, but we always had one customer in particular who is a funny person who would come into the store and not really ever buy anything, but would just talk and talk and talk your ear off. And you know, sometimes I always love talking to people. In fact, I love talking to 98% of the customers, but this one customer in particular was just a little odd is the nice way to put it. And whenever they would come in the store, it was always like, oh shit, they're back, because they were an odd duck, but we always treated them with a smile. But I remember one time in particular, my manager had my back to the front of the store, like I had my back to the door, and he was looking at me, looking at the door. He watched this customer come in, and he was in the middle of a conversation, and he went, see ya. And I was like, where is he going? That was very uncharacteristic. That was unlike him to not be on the floor. I turn around and I see that customer and I was like, now I know why you went into the back there. But yeah, I think those are pretty much a majority of the weird or the funniest encounters I've had while working. Of course, I've talked about other times where I've been recognized. Albeit from being a YouTuber, that is always a funny and or weird, and sometimes both encounter. And then just the generic things that I feel like most of you would expect when you work at a retail job. One time I wasn't even working, but it was for a work social. We were doing it with a very famous person here in Toronto, here in Canada actually, and we realized after the fact that they were very, very famous famous and they were part of our work escape room. So if you guys want that story, I'll maybe give that in another Ask Brick episode. But those are some of the weirdest and craziest encounters I can remember from my time at the Lego store. This next question is from Bricknan. Ask Brick, any tips or tricks for starting a YouTube channel for a nana and a grandson? So for starters, I guess okay, tips for starting a YouTube channel. I'm going to keep this generic, maybe not just for a nana and a grandson, but for anybody who might want to start a Lego YouTube channel. I would say my best advice would just be to go for it. Find what would make you a niche in the Lego space. Reviewers, back in my day when I started, I feel like everybody just made how-to videos, reviews, stop motion animations, those kind of things, and that was basically it. But now, like, it's really hard to be a Lego reviewer because we've got the Lego Ambassador Network, so unless you're getting sets like really early, people don't want to watch your review if you posted a month after the set actually came out. So that one's a little bit harder to do. How-to is great, but, like, again, you have to be good at how-tos. Like, as a non-mock builder, someone who doesn't build a lot, I can't just, like, whip up all these how-tos and expect to get views because I don't know what I'm talking about. And stop motion animations, they're really long and time consuming. So those are like my three niches, but I feel like now there's like a million other niches out there. So as long as you kind of find one that you think nobody else is doing, or even if some other people are doing it, don't let that stop you. Just like find that niche that you know you could do. I would say go for it. Like I said, once you kind of have what kind of videos that you want to make and that you know you'll be good at, like maybe choose a few formats. Like I like to do vlog style videos, occasional reviews, sorting videos. Like a lot of vlogs is kind of what I enjoy making here for my channel. The occasional review, the occasional more like professionally produced content, but I kind of know my niche. I know what my audience likes, so I would encourage you to do that as well. You don't need expensive gear and stuff to get started. I've expanded my operations over the years. I started doing everything on just a camcorder, like that's all I used, and then I ended up getting a nicer camcorder, and then a DSLR, and then a better DSLR, and now the camera that I'm using now, and I've gotten 3 iterations of microphones over the years, new studio lights, GoPros, extra phones, mirrorless cameras, lights, like so much has changed over the years and like all my gear. So definitely just start small. Start with your cell phone. Back in my day, I had an iPhone 3. I think that's probably, or maybe an iPhone 4 is what I would have had when my YouTube channel first started. So that wasn't like, those were terrible quality phones and stuff like that. You couldn't make the kind of content that you could now with a cell phone back then because the quality just wasn't there, but now it is. So just use your cell phone, find your niche, make those videos, like especially for a nana and a grandson. Like we've kind of seen like Brick Attack, who he does it with his son and his like the dad, which is really cool. So you definitely can do something like that for sure. And I would say too, like if you just want to get into the YouTube space, like YouTube is great, but don't limit yourself just to YouTube. Also do TikTok and Instagram as well. If you want to have something more long term, I would say YouTube might be your best bet, because when you get a long form content or like a view, I feel like a view on YouTube is a lot more than a view on TikTok or something like that. But like, so if you just want like long-term success, maybe YouTube is a platform to focus on. But if you're looking to build like a community fast, then TikTok and Instagram are definitely the way to go. Like I've seen insane growth on those platforms over the last year compared to what I've seen here on YouTube, but it's just not the same audience. But they're both great. All of them are great platforms. So it's really up to you, kind of whatever you want. But my biggest tip would just be just find that niche that you want to focus on and just get started. Don't let anything hold you back from posting videos, because you just get started now, because you'll always think like, oh, you're too late to the game, but you're only going to be too late if you wait any longer. Like there's already a lot of people in the space, so just hop in and show your niche, and if you make content that people want to see, people will watch it. This next question is from Mr. Graphic Designer. Ask Brick, how do you know how many Lego pieces you have in your collection? So Mr. Graphic Designer, I use this platform called Brickset. Brickset is this really cool platform here, which essentially is a database for your entire Lego collection. So on Brickset here, you can just go to My Sets, click on Overview of your Lego collection. You'll be able to see these sets here. I personally own 1,765 items. 1,673 are different. You can click here to view all the different sets that you have in your Lego collection. Mine is sorted from the order added to the collection, so these are these sets that I got newest, but it's really cool. Basically, you can just log your Lego collection here and click I own, X of the set. You can change the quantity and stuff like that as well. So you can see these are all the sets that I've recently logged into my Lego collection. Anytime I do get a new set, I do log it right away to make sure it's included here, and then that is all reflected in the numbers here. So basically, of all the sets that I've logged, they were able to pull piece counts for 1,547 of them, which means I own 459,871 Lego pieces, and the retail value of my collection is $37,452. So that is a combination of all the sets and stuff like that that I've logged. So using this tool right here, and adding sets to my collection, you know, you could just see all the sets that BrickSet has to offer, and you could just go ahead and add them to your Lego collection right here, and that's how BrickSet tallies it up and lets you know how many Lego parts you have. So while BrickSet is really great for being able to establish how many parts you have based on the sets in your Lego collection, obviously it doesn't account for things like used Lego lots where you don't know what sets you're buying. It doesn't account for pick-a-brick or bricklink orders or anything like that. So unfortunately, the platform is not an end-all be-all. It's still a really, really great platform. Don't get me wrong. I use it religiously to keep track, but it's not going to give you the perfect 100% accurate number. I know based on like how many parts I have on my BrickSet database that I could probably add 50 to 100,000 extra parts that aren't in the database just because I've accumulated so many parts over the years from, like I said, pick-a-brick walls, bricklink stores, used Lego lots, convention purchases, all that stuff, like sets even that maybe just didn't get logged. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of things in your Lego collection that may not be in BrickSet and may not have an accurate count. So that's why the BrickSet is a great range. But yeah, it's a really, really good tool. So whenever I say I have 400,000 Lego pieces, say in my collection, that is an estimate based on my BrickSet number plus what I believe I purchased elsewhere. So if I need the most exact number up to date, I know that I could use that BrickSet number, but it's going to be on the low end because of all those extra pieces. So I try and give like a range of how many Lego pieces that I think I have. And finally, this last question here is from Bricks. Ask Brick, how do you film these videos both for YouTube and for Instagram and TikTok? So this is a fun one. I actually film these videos and the videos that you see on Instagram and TikTok of the Ask Brick episodes all the same way. I film with my DSLR. I'm filming it in long form content right here in front of, like, the camera's behind me, monitor there, all is great. And then what I do and how I upload them to Instagram and TikTok as well is I actually just edit it down. I just like shrink this onto the sides here and only show this vertical part of my face. Anytime that I have any overlays or stuff like that, I try and crop them as well, or I'll just make them a little bit smaller and then add a black background or something like that so you can still see the full image. But the reason I do this is just because it's the easiest way for me to film all this content. I have to film one take. I edit it once, and then once it's been edited for long form, I just import those clips. I copy the clips from the long form video into a short form timeline, and then just expand it out and shrink it for the short form size. I actually used to, when I first started doing these Ask Brick videos for TikTok and Instagram, I used to have my main camera here, and then I would have an iPhone directly under the lens here. So you wouldn't see it on this camera, but I was filming two different clips at once, but that never worked because I was never looking in. Like, if I was looking here, then you're not getting my eyesight here. And if I was looking here, you're not getting my eyesight in the iPhone lens. So I was never looking at the camera in like one or the other shots. Like, you wouldn't want to be on YouTube or short form watching me talk like this. Like, I'm not looking at the camera. That's not a good look. You want me looking directly at the camera. You want me acting like you're right there in front of me. So that's why I film it like this and just shrink it down. Sure, the quality's not as great as if I was filming on the other orientation on a different device. It would be a lot more crisp, but that's why I want to get a new camera eventually. So when I do scale it down, it's still very high quality. But yeah, I just filmed the same clip once and I just edit it two different ways, and it's the best way and the easy way to allow me to produce that kind of content. But any other videos that I film short form, I never use this camera for. I have either my iPhone or a mirrorless camera that I use for those kind of footages as well, just because then I actually turn the camera so I can film at the highest resolution possible. And alrighty, you guys, that is all for today's episode of Ask Brick. Thank you all so much for leaving your questions down in the comments below across all my platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube here, of course, and of course any DMs or anything like that. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. Stay tuned because I've got lots of other great videos coming very soon. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.